So year employment placement. So obviously so anyone that's third year, close your ears. Um, this doesn't relate to you anymore, unfortunately. But anyone year one, year two, obviously if you're in year two, this is kind of like the time where you might be applying for placements. Year one is where potentially thinking about what kind of placements you might want to do, where you might want to work. But essentially, a year in employment placement is a year long full time placement, which takes place between your second and third year. It is a pass fail year. You have to, whilst you're on your actual placement, you have to write a report. So it's a reflective report off of five different learning outcomes, but it's essentially what you've learned about yourself, skills you've developed, how it shaped your career, and having an understanding of like what it is that you did and and how that impacts the company and the wider sector. So it's all very based off your own experience. So typically, we've not seen anyone fail at that stage because it's almost impossible, because it's purely based on your experience. So unless you completely go off on a tangent and talk about something very random, you will pass that. You then have, with a year employment added to your degree title, so it's on your degree transcript. You can have add that to your CV, and that kind of those are that's probably one of the most important things about doing a placement year is having that on your CV. Um, with how competitive the graduate market is at the moment, and will continue to be, like people are seeing thousands of applications per role. So that first initial stage when you're providing your CV, and they're literally just going off of that, having a year employment makes you stand out because you'll be going up against like 90% of the rest of the kind of like cohort of applicants that don't have that, and you'll be put on to the next round because there won't be someone looking at 1,000 applications. They'll have AI tools to kind of sift and pick out keywords, and when they see year in employment or placement year, then you're kind of like it's almost like an auto pass to the next stage. So it can be really really useful for that. Saying that, just because you don't have that doesn't mean that you're not going to get through. So like I said, you might have other work experience. So like they'll be looking out for like internships or other work experience. So as long as you kind of got some stuff in there, that will help. But that does help a lot, especially at the beginning stages of the graduate recruitment process. So it's available to only a certain amount of students. So obviously you guys, I think all geography, but yeah. So that's fine. So you're one of our eligible courses. So what are the benefits? So we've kind of seen like anecdotally through conversations that we have with students that have done placement years here, um, it always increases their chances of um, securing a graduate role. So we when students come back from their placement year, we have like a little event. It's just very chill, just lots of drink, lots of food, and we kind of catch up with the students that have been on placement. And I think this year in particular, like so many of them secured graduate roles based off of what they did on their placement year. So it is a real fast track into a graduate role, even if it's something that you don't want to do. You have something kind of like in the back pocket. So, for example, we have one of our environmental science students. She did her placement at EDF Energy, um, and she was offered a graduate role. She hasn't accepted it yet, but she has that offer sitting, waiting, just in case she doesn't find something straight away. So she can kind of like have a bit of like peace of mind in terms of when looking for those graduate roles. 100% of students who complete a year in employment obtain a 2-1 or a first as well. So typically we see students increase academically as well when they're on placement. So even though you're taking a year away from study, the soft skills that you gain during your placement year, you often kind of like retranslate that back into studying. So like organization, kind of like time management, all those kind of things, you kind of bring that back to your final year, and typically we see an improvement in people's grades when they come back. It's really valuable experience to demonstrate to future employers. Like I said, internships are good because you obviously have loads of things that you talk about. Year-long placements are better because you have a whole year of things to talk about. You're fully integrated into that organization. You have so much. You have like a whole year's worth of things that you can talk about. So it's pretty good for that. It's an opportunity to grow as well your professional network. So again, having a good reference can be the difference between securing something or not. So obviously, having that really good professional relationship with either your line manager, supervisor, colleagues that are in your team. You never know with that they might leave where you did a placement and go into another company and looking for someone, and because you've built a good relationship with them, you have a bit of an advantage when potentially applying for that role. So building relationships, talking to people, getting to know them, understand them, can be really, really kind of like impactful for your future. The average salary of a placement is about £20,300, depending on where you are. I've seen some salaries that are bigger than my salary, which is crazy. Um, and also there are also unpaid placements. So, for example, we had another environmental science student that wanted to do more kind of like hands-on conservation style work. So she worked for a local council, um, and her placement was unpaid. Um, the difference between unpaid and paid placements is that you don't have to work as much to complete your year. So whereas paid placements is 1,050 hours, which is about 10 months full time. Unpaid placements, you only have to do 840 hours, and there's a lot of flexibility in terms of being able to do like some part-time paid work to kind of like keep you going, as it were, whilst you're getting that unpaid experience as well. Um, who can apply? So eligible courses. So obviously you guys know that you're already on eligible courses, so it's all good. You have to be an undergrad only as well. And like I said, takes place between second and third year. So those in first year, if you can still got plenty of time to think about it. Even those in second year, even though there's been a lot of roles gone live, if it's still something you can consider, because typically most students don't secure a role until like April of their second year. So, and we see roles being added throughout the academic year. I've seen some people like add them as late as June, which seems really, really late, but there's a quite a quick turnaround. So it just depends on how desperate people are to do placements. But yeah, that's our year in employment placement scheme. And then the final two programs are our innovation projects and challenges. So essentially, this is our way for you to get transferable skills really quickly, in a short space of time, um, through two different methods. So we have our student innovation project, which is a 4-week program. Um, think of this as like consultancy work. So essentially, what happens is a organization will come to us with a real life business issue that they're having, and they essentially want students to have a come up with some ideas, do some research, provide some recommendations, add it as a report, and then present back to your client essentially. So you'll be put into small teams of students, from a variety of backgrounds as well. So we'll put you maybe with first years with PhD students from different subjects. So you might be in a group with some fashion design students and then some economics students, depending on who applies. But we try and keep the variety there, just so then you're learning from each other, utilizing each other's own skill sets, but then also having to organize each other's time efficiently, because obviously have very different schedules. So that's part of the challenge. So yeah, so we want you to find creative ways to solve real business issues. So when I say real business issue, we mean that, like, genuinely the work, the research that, and the recommendations that students have put forward are then typically implemented if they're any good. Sometimes they are implemented as US internships, and sometimes then people from that group can apply to those internships as well. But otherwise, these have a real impact. Most of the time, especially for our innovation projects, the kind of companies are either local, small, startups, charities. So they don't have the capacity to kind of put in this bit of time to kind of like look into maybe like making like a brand and communications plan, or whatever that might, or whatever it is that they need. So having this resource as you guys to provide that makes a massive difference, and that can be a really powerful thing to talk about in a application, during an interview, showing impact of the work that you've done. So it kind of really stands out in these programs. So typically these last about 4 to 6. We ask about 4 to 6 hours of work each week for you guys to do on the project. So obviously times that by 4 or 5, depending on how many students are in your team. All come together, produce a report, and then, like I said, present to your clients. So you gain like some report writing skills. You also gain like presenting, public speaking as well, which is always a good thing to have a lot of practice in. And like I said, to gain a lot of skills in a short space of time, build a professional network and gain a relationship with that client. And like I said, sometimes those student innovation project recommendations lead into then maybe an internship, sometimes even future work if the company has capacity for that. So then the flip side of that is innovation challenge. So where you have 4 weeks and it's like part-time term time, innovation challenge is 4 days, but during the holiday period. So we run it in Easter and the start of summer break. It's a lot more intense. So obviously it's 4 days. And you work with a small group of students similar to innovation projects where you work on a real business challenge, but these are with a different kind of like caliber of companies. So the companies are multinational companies. They're also like invested in the University of Southampton, so they kind of provide a lot of funding to the University of Southampton. So it's kind of like here you can have like a student work on a project for you sort of thing. So we've had like IBM, BDO, Bristol Myers Squibb, we've had the Hampshire Police. Who else we had? BAE Systems, Northrop Grumman, loads of different like companies, but we kind of Siemens as well. But we make sure that the projects are open to students from any skill set. So you don't need to have technical skill, like technical knowledge or anything to be able to do the project. So we make sure that it's open to a student from history can do it as well as a student from engineering. So they're again really good things to get involved with. Again, create a report, deliver a presentation. The main difference with this one is that this is like essentially a competition. So you're going up against different teams. So you will have the opportunity to win a prize. It's a decent prize, I think. Depending on, I think it's like 250 quid each for the student team that wins. And again, it's open to you at any stage of your time here at the university. But the graduates can only apply for Innovation Challenge, so they can't apply for innovation projects. But yeah, those are our 4 different programs. That's just a little photo of all the students doing different things. So we've had students at Walt Disney. We've had internships at within the department. We've had so Georgina was a geography student that did their placement with GSK, and then some of our other internships people as well. And yeah, this is our details. If you want to register your interest with any of the kind of like work experience programs, then you can just scan that QR code or go on our website on the work experience section and just check there. But yeah, I don't know if anyone had any specific questions about any of the programs. Yeah, go for it.
Excuse me. About the internships.
Yeah.
I know you said there's no like set time when they're released. Like, are they released all year round? Because I was having a look.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really want to kind of take on more than I can, like with my dissertation and stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking doing one after, so like even like April, May, they'd still be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So I think like typically, like I said, with the summer is our peak in terms of when they take place. So like a lot of employers like to leave it late as well. So they'll be like, oh yeah, I've only just realised that I could do an internship, and it's like a month before summer starts. So we will quickly pop in some details for you guys to apply, and then hopefully then students will see that who are still looking for an internship, and they can apply. So like I said, typically from like you will start seeing as the academic year goes on, you'll see an increase of roles being available to apply to. So it's just keep checking.
Yeah.
Don't worry if there's not much there that you're interested in now, or because like you said, you're busy with other stuff. Just keep checking, and then there'll be stuff later on down the line. But I would suggest maybe signing up to the mailing list, because then you will get emails with the roles that are kind of like currently live, so you get that straight into your inbox.